Okay, welcome everyone. So we're gonna have a final half hour session here, and then we're going to have some drinks. So if anyone's stayed off the rosé so far today, well done. That's excellent work. Very, very impressive. So this session broadly, I think is, I think it gets to the nub of what the big theme is this week at Cannes, which is about how we control discovery in the age of AI. Who controls it? Is it all going to be agents? Is it just going to be? I don't know. Is it the agentic web? I've heard people talk about that. I bet that's going to be a thing. So yeah. And how's AI changing the way audiences find and consume content? What does that mean for publishers? And how do we remain relevant in this age? So I'll let everyone do a quick hello, and I'll let you dive in on that question in terms of what's top of your in tray when it comes to this sort of burning question. So Mark Howard, welcome, Chief Operating Officer of Time. What keeps you up at night when it comes to controlling and getting to audience in the AI era?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. This is one of my favorite topics. We think a lot about right now, we're at an infrastructure stage of this process where we needed to lay the pipes in terms of understanding the bots that are coming in, and it's been a long journey, as well as what our relationship with the big LLMs was going to be. So we've been on a couple-year journey here, fairly aggressive. We started announcing our first LLM partnerships over 2 years ago. We have 4 of them with the bigger partner players right now. We also implemented not only Tobit and ScalePost that both work with Fastly, which is our CDN, so that we can understand all the different bots that are coming. We joined philosophically with Cloudflare with Media Independence Day last July 1st and began blocking everybody. We've taken it one step further based off some guidance from some of the other larger media companies of only having an allow list and sorting all the bots that are not part of that allow list to a wall where they have the ability to pay their way in, of which nobody does yet, but it's available. And so we've been methodically, I think, working through what does that look like in terms of what we're comfortable with coming to the site. Our last move is that we've started segmenting out audiences. So people come to the website, time.com, as you would know it, and we all experience it. Bots go to the site, a markdown page where it's a stripped down version, the content, metadata, and we're thinking a lot about what that experience looks like. So we've got that for the allow bots, and then of course all the AI companies that we have our deals with, we have streams of content that are feeds of content that we're feeding them with only the content that they want, the content that we have the rights to license. So there's a lot going on there. And yet the biggest issue is still media companies are not getting paid for scraping and crawling, and the fact that if you don't have a direct deal with one of the large LLMs or AI companies, you're really not getting paid fairly for the use of your content in the models and inference and all the different ways that they're doing it. So there's a ton more on that.
Okay, thanks, Mark. I'm a bit worried that people's backs might be a bit hot. Should we just shift forward a little bit?
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. I think if everyone shifts back a bit, you're right there, James. You shift back. That's better, isn't it? You've got quite fair skin as well, and I was just thinking I've got a duty of care. So look, thanks for that, Mark. And just on that bot thing, because I speak to publishers the whole time, and people, always comes up. I mean, is it actually physically possible? Because they're very clever, aren't they, at spoofing your systems and new bots. Is it actually possible to control that flow, or are you just sort of
No.
Yeah.
So it's obviously an arms race. They are way better equipped than we are to be able to circumvent your bot detection and blocking systems. Now there's secondary systems that we're evaluating putting in, but even those, there's a whole ecosystem out there of bot detection, deference, avoidance options for how they do it, which is the frustrating part. It's like, if you're going to go through that much effort to get around the bot blocking, why not just pay a very, very fair nominal fee, and we'll give you the content with the metadata. We'll spoon feed it to you so that you don't have to do all that. The problem is, of course, that's If we all did that, that would be a tiny, tiny portion of what their scrapers are out there doing, and it doesn't really accomplish the internet scale that they need. So we get that.
Okay. Imogen, Global Chief Advertising Officer, The Guardian.
Hello, Dom.
Welcome. So The Guardian, I mean, your traffic's actually going up year on year, and then if you look at the data around who gets surfaced in LLMs, you're kind of near the top of the list. So maybe not much keeps you up awake. At night. Are you just sipping,
really well
you're just sipping rosé and living it up. No, what's
That's right. Yeah, we're really relaxed at the Guardian. No, you're right. We are insulated a little bit because of the strength of our brand, and we are growing, like particularly globally, like in America. But we've got supporters now in over 180 countries around the world. Like we've got our 1.4 million digital recurring supporters. And so in some ways we're kind of insulated because of the strength of our brand. Like we noticed, obviously the World Cup's on. It's been very, very lucrative for us this year. And that's because people are searching Guardian football rather than just football. So we do have but we recognise that we've got a really strong brand and not everybody is as lucky as we are in that regard. And also, we don't know because the tech companies, they don't share granular detail of click-through rates and stuff, so we don't actually know what we're missing out on or whatever. So we kind of would urge people to share more of that so we can see the tech companies more. And we've also been on we are collaborating together with Spur, which I know you know about, which is about kind of setting standards for fair licensing agreements, responsible licensing agreements, and technical frameworks. So we do that, and then most of all we make sure that our journalism has got humans at the heart of it, and it's going to appeal to our growing audience. So that's kind of how we look at it.
Okay. So Isabel Perry, Global EVP of Strategy for DEPT. Is that right?
DEPT, yes.
It's not. It's DEPT. It's a word.
It's a Dutch company, and I think we've had a lot of conversations about the name for the last decade, but it's still DEPT.
I got that completely wrong, didn't I? Brilliant.
So you're not the first.
So, I mean, as I understand it, you guys, well, you explain what you guys do, but it's to do with AI and advising brands and ad buying.
Yeah. So DEPT is a growth invention company. It's 50-50 marketing and technology, and my role at the company is basically to evolve all of our solutions in a world which is constantly changing, which right now obviously means trying to figure out how our clients can navigate discoverability, or we call it generative engine optimization. So it's the future of SEO. Arguably, it is much, much bigger than that. But what that actually means is clearly all of the brands that we work with, and I should say we're sort of the growth partner to OpenAI, Google, Meta. So we're very living and breathing AI at work. Every brand though is coming to us saying we've got 69% zero click-through from Google search. Our traffic has dropped massively, and I imagine everyone in this room as a publisher is also already seeing that. And the question then becomes, how can we optimize our organic visibility on generative engines? ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini. And the way that you actually do that is, I think, fascinating, both strategically and technically and creatively, because it's this perfect mix of moving from basically just worrying about what your website's saying and how you're structuring your content and a few technical things, to worrying about the whole ecosystem. So we talk about basically optimizing your owned media, which is what you publish on your own channels, and your earned media, which is basically word of mouth, and it's everything that the publishers, influencers, YouTubers, creators, customers say about you on any channel. And so it becomes a technical and strategic problem because you have to introduce generative engine optimization governance to ensure all teams and agencies are speaking consistently, because large language models look for patterns. You're speaking with authority, which was really interesting earlier on the panel just before, and how Axios is deliberately building up author credibility is going to be really, really important in organic discoverability, and also positive sentiment from your customers. And that's basically our approach to generative engine optimization, which means that publishers are incredibly important to the number one thing which all brands are speaking about in the boardroom right now.
So, so do you think the brands, because it's easy to be, when you come to Cannes and you look at, this place and the Spotify beach, whatever, the Meta beach, there isn't a news beach, is there? So what do you think brands are bothered about what publishers say and write about? Do you think that we're still an important part of their thinking, even though they don't spend a lot of money with us, to be honest?
Yeah, but I think the key thing is moving from assessing your value through impressions and advertising through to how you can be the sort of number one trust builder for brands. Because if large language models are looking for patterns, you become a very, very valuable person in like repeating the brand narrative they're trying to put forward. And actually, although Reddit's in 40% of AI citations or something, actually 84% of citations are publishers, and all publishers are sort of within the top 3 channels by category of whether or not you're looking at social or owned content, for example. So it's incredibly important. It's growing. I think publishers just have to rethink the role that they're playing in that relationship.
Yeah. That's a lot, isn't it? 84% of AI citations are publishers. Yeah, that's encouraging, isn't it?
Yeah. Lots to be positive about.
Yeah, excellent. So, Michael Sadicario, that's what your name?
Correct. Perfect.
Yeah, brilliant. EVP Enterprise Media and Retail Partnerships for North America, Equativ. So, you guys, you're an end-to-end tech platform. You're supporting publishers to make more revenue, advertising revenue from their premium content, which, I always think, publishers don't get value for what they do. They don't get we're not paid what we're worth really by advertisers. We should be. So I imagine you're on the front line of this. But what's top of your kind of to-do list or?
Sure. Well, being married to a journalist, I will tell you that she does not get her fair value for what she writes. And I'd love to be part of that ecosystem supporting that. I think it's interesting that I'm bookending this because the way I think about agentic is much more about the technology and the workflows that are helping advertisers reach the right audience with the right message, and to amplify that creative in a way that grabs them and turns them into a customer. And so I know that that's maybe a little bit sort of like different from trying to fight back on the stealing of your content, which is happening. But I think we're trying to make the workflows easier, and all the agentic conversations. There's another buzzword around Cannes it's been a buzzword for a few years now, which is outcomes, and that's what we're trying to optimize towards from an advertising perspective. And if we can make sure we are in lockstep with our publisher partners, I think there's much more to gain in the future. And if we're driving that effective performance, we can steal market share from some of the bigger platforms that have been non-transparent, non-friendly to publishers for so long.
Okay, I'll stick with you for the next question, and you can on that sort of drawing on that sort of positive theme from Isabel, which was good. What do you tell us something that you're seeing is working? I guess you work with thousands of publishers, so you must see the good, the bad, and the ugly. But what's something that's working in terms of revenue and advertising?
I think it's both something that is working and can be improved. I think the commerce connected to publishing is, I think, something that is doing really well right now. The commerce signals, or the signals that we're able to capture from a customer or a user or a reader or viewer that is engaged, can then become the commerce signal can become an opportunity to present them with an actual advertising experience that drives them to engage and actually activate to purchase. Right, we're all looking for advertising, this full funnel approach. Well, the publishers have not thought of themselves as commerce signals, and I think that the value of the depth of context that you have can create new opportunities for those advertisers to rethink how they engage with you. So through advertising, obviously through just regular display banner ads or video, but really native content, I think is hopefully going to have a renaissance. I think that branded content. You were mentioning the trust factor, the connection, the authenticity of a brand requiring to be on a publisher's site in order to gain that credibility and trust, so that when the LLM does pick it up, it says this is the authority. And so I think that there's a partnership here in a programmatic sense, but also a partnership with commerce companies, in particular, to share in that richness of data that exists and use those signals to just buy more effectively.
We actually, if I can, a couple months ago at the Digiday Publisher Summit, we announced a Geo product specifically for that, where we've been working with Mobian, where we identify what a brand says about themselves through their own advertising, and then we query the 4 big AI answer platforms, and we see what they say. And what you find is there's usually anywhere between a 15 and 40% delta between those two platforms. And obviously now that those AI platforms, whether you're B2C purchaser or B2B, so much of that process is happening there before you even send a signal back to that brand that you're in market. So by identifying that gap, we're now working with different brands on doing branded content programs where specifically we're building content for that purpose. We're routing that content to the markdown pages. We know that our domain authority in terms of the AI bot activity from those LLMs is already very high. And by being able to push it through that specific channel, taking it one step further, we also notice that in a lot of the instances where there is that large delta between what the answer platforms are saying and what the brand is saying about themselves, a lot of times it's these really random YouTubers or these really long tail third-party sites that you've never heard of that are influencing and showing up in the sources. And so when appropriate for the brand, we're also turning that branded content into YouTube assets. We're thinking a lot more about LinkedIn, as on the B2B side, it's increasingly becoming more important. And so it's a whole suite of different product offerings just specifically for that purpose. And it's one of the things that we're here talking a lot about this week, but it's really taken off for us. What's interesting is you introduce something like this to your sales team and immediately it's over their head. Then what's happened is we've had probably a half a dozen inquiries because we got the press from announcing it, where brands are saying, that's our problem, help us. And now the sales team is saying, okay, this is incredible. We have an opportunity. We need to jump on this.
I'd like to sort of back that up, and I'd love to know more about those products, actually, because we've noticed at The Guardian that our partnership revenues have grown, and we think that that's one of the reasons. Like, somebody else saying something nice about your things is much more valuable than you saying something nice about your things. So I think that, you know, you asked what keeps us awake at night. If I was a brand, I would be kept awake at night thinking, how can I get a publisher to say something nice about me that our customer would trust?
Yeah, and we've created these products specifically. So there's a couple of different ways, and the one that we're working through right now is a pure data product that doesn't even get published to the web where humans see it. It's just marketing to the bots. Because if you're realistic about the world we live in today, there are now two customers. There's the humans that are still coming to websites, although except for you, increasingly fewer and fewer. And then there's the rise of the agentic web. And we all used to come to this conference and talk about IVT and bots are bad and they can't view an ad and they're bad traffic and you've got to weed all that data out. And then actually now, bots not only are increasingly able to purchase, but they are informing purchase in much more, and that's only going to increase.
Hang on, I have to stop you there, Mark, 'cause you blow my mind a little bit. So you see, but you, well, you, well, so there's a sort of layer of content which the humans aren't necessarily seeing, but the bots are, and then you can kind of serve them directly.
There's two webs now. There's the human web that we all serve, go to websites, and we all go to great pains to make those pages beautiful and load fast and images and videos and all the other stuff we have to put on it to monetize it in balance. And then there's this agentic web, and for us, and I'm sure a lot of publishers who are now serving these markdown pages or will be serving the markdown pages, not only does it have the actual content, but it's got the metadata, and now we're thinking about additional data that we're able to append. It's called content enrichment or context forwarding, or there's all kinds of different names for it out there. But it's that premise of, and we're working through with the lawyers, we want to be preemptively cautious about how do we indicate on that page whether the bots can actually pick up that signal that you've said that this is advertiser branded content or not on the page. That's still be determined, but we're doing it the way that we think is the smart and safe way, so that eventually when we have to deal with that, the pages that we've got out there have labeling, but we're able to send so much more data. And we've thought about that product. It needs to be very factual. We're taking a lot of those brand pages from Mobian where we analyze the advertiser's advertising messaging. We're drawing directly from those pages. So it's very factual data about what they're communicating about themselves, labeled, but for the bots, not for people.
And Isabel, I think you're going to chip in on that. Because I understand it, the bots in the UK can't buy things independently yet, but that's something that's probably coming down the track, isn't it?
Yeah, just to jump in. First of all, like, congratulations, because we're building experiences where what you've just described is sort of literally a toggle, and this is the human experience of the apparel store, and this is the bot version of the apparel store, and a lot of that's honestly Silicon Valley blockchain companies. So I'm incredibly would love to dig into more of what you're doing, but that's absolutely the heart of it, and that's the sort of our core strategic. Honestly, conversation we're having with clients right now is the future customer journey is half human, half AI. And how do you work out which part of that customer journey will become agentic and which half will remain incredibly human, like 40 people on a boat in Cannes, and basically leaning into the two pointy ends. And I think what's interesting is the subtext of this, and again, why I loved hearing Hannah speaking about how the Daily Mail's moving into social, is we'll be having the same conversation a decade about how publishers have moved into the agentic web, and the foundations, as you say, are being laid right now. And it sort of reminded me of speaking to Channel 4 a decade ago, and they were saying, we're going to have to make memes, and it's going to be the equivalent now of like perfecting your markdown files for the agentic audience. Because ultimately, when you step back, what's sort of happening is the internet's basically been pull, and like a human goes to where they want to go, they go to where they want to see, they want to pull what they want, and we're moving into an internet which is push, where the agents are basically one step in advance, or at least what's the word beginning with P, where you're like predicting or one step ahead of what the human that you're working for is, and it becomes an internet. Yes, and it becomes a push internet.
Michael, are you guys sort of ready for the agentic web? Is this something you think about a lot?
Yes. We're I don't think we're quite in the same world as sort of like preparing to, well, we should be looking at GEO and like as a brand ourselves, but no, we're everything agentic, like I mentioned earlier, is all about workflows, and for us it's end-to-end media buying to shorten the path to the impression or to the publisher to make sure they get their fair value of that revenue. It's influencing that path. It's making sure we have the right signals within that path to optimize against, so that we're getting the right data back. I think there's a lot of challenges with publishers wanting to, because I get it, because I used to be a publisher. It feels like everybody has pillaged everything that you've ever done, but frankly, there needs to be more trust between the ad tech layer and the publishers, so that we're sharing in the signals that need to go out. So there's maybe a third web, frankly, because you're building the signals for the LLMs, but where was all that energy building signals for some of the programmatic partners? I would love to see more around that and more sharing of the data, so that we can drive better results for the buy-side partners that we work with, and that pays us all what we make.
I don't know if there's any more room in this pier for more signals for the ad tech layer, but we'll work on that.
Okay. Anyway, we got any questions in the audience? Yeah. Tell us who you are.
So I'm Phil from Reuters. So actually we were both quoted in the Digiday article, right? So we're both default blocking bots, but we allow any bot to come in and get the sponsored content. The chances the person can be pulled, because you can kind of file. But the data is very patchy, but I've seen it, LLMs are very reluctant to use as source sponsored content from what we've seen, because they kind of understand we're trying to game it. Are you seeing that too?
I'm just going to repeat that in case anyone didn't hear. So the LLMs are reluctant to cite a source when it's sponsored content, because they're quite clever and they can see that you're trying to potentially game what they do. Yeah. So, and I guess that might be your layer. They might see that's an attempt. But anyway, go on. I think I was going.
Yeah. So we spend a lot of time working. We have content deals with OpenAI and Perplexity, and we spend a lot of time talking to them about how our content shows up. We've been very transparent with them about what we're trying to do. We have a content deal with Amazon. I have a meeting later this week right over there. So we've been fully transparent. We sent that article around from Digiday, from both the Publisher Summit and the one that we were both in. And we've told them exactly, because there is no marketplace right now, and there is not one coming anytime soon that's going to fairly compensate us for the use of our data in their answers. And so how we show up there, what our intentions are in terms of how we're going to build a business to be able to leverage our authority and that relationship is critically important. Right now, of course, the standing answer from all of them is there is no way to manipulate that. It is a truly black box. This is not SEO. It is a different thing. So it is going to be something over time. a lot of the conversations, which is really hard for marketers, is you can continue doing what you're doing and you're getting misrepresented. You can do something in which we show up really well. You do not. So here's an option for you to do something, and we will measure it together, and over time, we will track this to the best of all of our abilities. A lot of them have their own analytics firms now that they're using, so they've got measurement. They just don't really know what to do because their content is showing up in those answers. It's just also then blended with a lot of other content that's misrepresenting them as a result.
Yep, there's a question here. I'll let you have that.
I can lean forward and ask. 2 years ago, the big question was funding news journalism and local journalism. I'm wondering if you've got thoughts on how the tech can be used to help with that particular problem, because what I'm hearing so far is it can work for brands and advertising economy, but I'm not readily being able to understand how the solutions can transfer to that other problem that is still live and real.
He'd like to answer that one.
I don't have the answer. I wish I did. The local news are just incredibly important to democracy, and everybody knows that, and yet nobody is funding them. So that's one of the reasons that The Guardian has been in this coalition of publishers, so that smaller publishers who maybe, have less of a voice can kind of also understand how to enter into these licensing deals and what's the kind of responsible thing to do. But I wish I knew the answer, because it's terrifying.
So I didn't miss anything.
Yeah. I mean, Michael, this is a big theme last year, and I'm sure it's a theme this year, is brand safety, and the fact that brands, we know all about that. They don't like supporting news because, I don't know, because maybe some of them don't like democracy. I don't know. How do you?
This is not a new problem. I've sold for some of the biggest news publishers on the sales side to agencies and brands, and they have long never wanted to be a part of news. I mean, put their money where their mouths are. I mean, they say it on stages like this in Cannes, and they say we should support journalism, but then they don't do it with their money. We have to force them to do so. Maybe it's public shaming. Maybe it's, hopefully maybe more like the signals I was talking about earlier. Maybe if it's directed towards actual purchase, if we can it's not just advertising for advertising's sake. I mean, we all like money, but if advertising doesn't work, what's the point? For the advertiser. So if we can make it more effective, maybe that's the way around to end run around the brand safety concerns that they might have. And so many of those brand safety concerns are unwarranted. A lot of them are warranted. But yeah, I don't have a good answer for it either. I wish I did.
Okay.
Make a lot of money.
Do you want to answer?
I have a lot to say on that and speak publicly about it quite a bit too, because we've been publicly battling with the legacy vendors on this front. And I think at this point it's beyond absurd, the lack of effort that they've put into fixing their solutions, given that you look at our audience, your audience, their audience, everybody, these premium publisher, well-known brand, Reuters, all of them. The idea that the audience, when we've gone to great lengths to create these boxes, to put on these pages that say advertisement, that are specifically designed to not be nearly as effective as they could be, in an effort to over-communicate, and then the idea that a reader can't differentiate whatever is being reported on from that advertiser is just absurd. So it's ridiculous that in 2026 we're still having this conversation, but we are. And there's many, many panels like this happening this week to talk about it. We actually, because we direct sell pretty much everything, we talk to the advertisers that we won't even accept the legacy vendor tags. We have to make concessions sometimes to allow them to run it, but we won't allow them to bill off of it. We won't allow for make goods. We won't allow for any of that. And we've really pushed back hard on this.
Well, the hypocrisy of advertising on social media, where it's like a cesspool of who knows what, yet a trusted news brand doesn't get the advertising dollars. I don't understand it.
The number one show on TV in the States outside of football is the NCIS franchises. Think about what those are all about. I mean, the whole premise is crime, right? And then the advertisers are in the ad breaks. It's ridiculous. And then don't even start it with YouTube.
We've actually done lots of experiments where we've ran the same creative against brand unsafe and brand safe inventory, and actually the results are better for the brand unsafe because it's more attention there. That's what the audience is, but no one believes you.
Well, it's a whole other thing. It's a whole thing. Did you question there?
Yeah, I think
Can I just summarise that for everyone? So this is the a question about unless they.
Like, are they aware of that? Does that ever come up in conversation?
Yeah. So just so in case anyone didn't hear, so this is a question about AI companies. We heard you say that the 87% of citations are publishers, but if they kill the news industry by taking our clicks, which they are, then they're not going to have the content. Is there any awareness of that? I think you said you've got deals. Do you think do they give a shit really? This is the question, isn't it?
The media partnership team does. Whether the CFO and head of product over there do, less so. But I do think they realize intellectually, and Sam Altman speaks about it all the time, that he does believe that there is a future of micropayments that is going to emerge. I think the ability to do it at scale is the problem. And everybody's got to participate in that. So first and foremost, I love Spur. I love the News Media Alliance. I love what they're trying to do with organizing coalitions of large swaths of really important publishers to band together, to unify around how to do that. We just joined RSL, which I'm very proud of being a part of that. I think the work that they're doing to standardize some of the protocols are critically important to getting us to a place to be able to do that. So there's a tremendous amount of effort by really smart, committed people who are doing it. I think the more that the big premium brands and media houses can all participate in that, which for the most part I feel they are, we can get to a point where enough critical mass can be there to impact them if we can unify on how exactly we standardize blocking and facilitate the ability to translate.
I think that's right. I think they do know is the answer. They definitely do know, but I think it's like on the publishers to sort of say we do want to be in control of how our audience is valued, whether whoever that audience is, we should be able to say how valuable an audience is, and I think that's probably the tension.
I think the one thing that is to the advantage of publishers, right, in this conversation, is that to actually create a micro payment pay-as-you-go system, you have to be so accurate. And I've sort of come across a couple of essentially small, relatively unknown, incredibly powerful stealth startups that are actually building alternative generative models that are all about scraping everything but having zero hallucinations and utter traceability and accuracy to sort of create an internet where you can have those systems in place, which could be another interesting benefit to business, benefit to publishers scenario.
Yeah, that could catch on, couldn't it? Like an accurate kind of accuracy. Yeah, I mean that's useful.
10% here or there.
This scraper economy is real. It started as a cottage industry, but it's got a lot of venture funding right now, billions of dollars in venture funding. I think at present count, there's high 20s, maybe 30 companies that exist out there that are doing that, and it's all about accuracy, and it's working. So they've proven that it can be done. My understanding, having met with a couple of Silicon Valley venture capitalists who have invested in them or met with them about potentially investing, is that the business plans say they're going to pay for the content, but that has not happened yet.
We're out of time. Mike, I'll let you have the final word if you like.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. I defer to you because it's your yacht, but that's very big of you to.
You called my yacht smaller earlier, so
yeah,
it's okay. It's all right.
Listen, let's have a round of applause for the panel. Excellent panel. Thank you. Thanks very much, everyone, for being part of the news yacht, the inaugural news yacht. Thank you to Equativ for hosting us, to our navigators, Q5, to PA Media, to the engine room, and to Propeller, who are. Does the analogy break down? No, you're the propeller, aren't you, of the yacht? Yes, you propel the news yacht forward with amazing communications. Yeah. Look, thanks everyone for coming. And we're having wine and nibbles. Is it on the deck below decks? Yeah, staying on this deck.
Like 10 minutes.
Oh, in 10 minutes. Oh, so we can have a stretch. But have a stretch. Visit the head, as we call it, aboard ship. Otherwise, there will be some rosé and nibbles. Please hang around and mingle. Great to be here. Thank you.